Welcome to Lead a Horse to Water, the equine training and behaviour podcast. I'm your host, Trudy Dempsey. Last time I spoke with my friend and colleague Katrina about how we would deal with errors traditionally versus how we deal with them now when we're using positive reinforcement and looking down a more errorless framework. Those ways work really whether you're using positive or negative reinforcement. Of course, my thrust always is to use positive reinforcement wherever I can, and whenever anybody tells me that I can't because it's not possible, is to dig deeper and search harder, because there is always a way to use more positive than there is negative. What I wanted to talk about today is something that happened to me this week when I was doing some scent training with Rum, who is Becky Bayliss's lovely boy, who I'm very honoured to be able to do some scent work with. I want to talk about that, how I dealt with it, how I might deal with it another time, why I dealt with it in the way that I did, and look at that very specifically. I don't talk a lot about scent work. I am presenting on it later this year, very soon actually, in May at the IAABC Foundation conference in Colorado Springs. I'm presenting a practical alongside my colleague Gabriel Lencioni on the pre-conference day on the Thursday, where we're going to be looking again at errorless frameworks for learning with horses and looking at how we can help set up better learning environments for horses. On the main conference, I'm doing a long one, 90 minutes on scent work, so I'm really looking forward to that. I hope if you're coming that you'll join me and ask me lots of questions either in that session or afterwards. I also have my scent work group on Facebook that is only for people who really are going to do the thing. I have to go in and weed people out because really it's not there just as a sit around and watch. It's ideally there for you to be gaining experience through doing it yourself and sharing that with me so that I can make better protocols in the future. And there you would see all of these training situations that come up with Rum and any other horses that I'm training scent work with or other people are. So you're very welcome to join that if you get in touch with me, but it does require you to actually be doing some amount of scent work or aiming to very soon. Just to mention as well, if you catch this early enough before the 22nd or probably around the 22nd or 3rd, the weekend when this will first come out, you should be able to still catch a place on Gabriel and my cooperative care course at the IAABC Foundation. So you can find that at iaabcfoundation.org, and we take you through 4 weeks from understanding the signs of stress that horses might show when they're having husbandry protocols carried out, to finding those baselines where horses are comfortable and pushing those baselines to improve them and help the horse be comfortable with them in their own time, not your time. And then we hope by the end of that you will be able to share some of your cooperative care training with us, and we can give you feedback on your training. You don't have to, you can look at everybody else's, but it's always really useful, I think, to either put your plans in and let us look at your plans and discuss whether we think they would be a good option or whether we could tweak them, but also for you to put in your training, and so we can help you with that. We've even had people put their dog training in. We don't mind, it's all about the principle. So you could join us there. I am super excited that on the 5th of April, I begin my wonderful professional horse trainer certificate. First run of this. So excited. I have some really keen learners on that. I can't wait to get started. It's full, but it will run again next year. So if you want to be put on the shortlist for that for next year, it's full on. There's so much in the course. It's incredible. Anyway, sorry, I'm waffling. And just to say as well that I hope to have Katrina back. I haven't asked her. Maybe she'll be listening to this and she'll get in touch and say, yes, I will. But I'd like us to look at some of the questions that came out of her podcast with me last time, and some that I have lurking in the background that I've meant to answer previously. So we'll perhaps have a Q&A session, which is always really good fun and nice to push it around with somebody else rather than you just hearing what I think. So I'm going to talk in this one about errors and how we deal with them. In the old world, if a horse made an error, what did we do? Well, we corrected them. We would turn around, do it again. We talked about this last week. We might tap them with a whip. We might use our leg coming up to whatever the sticky bit was where the horse didn't want to do it. And we would fundamentally correct the behaviour we didn't want and hope that we got the behaviour that we did want. It's a really poor method of obtaining behaviour. The motivation is really just not there for the learner. As I'm sure that you can understand that if you think about it for yourself. If somebody's only telling you off when you do something and you don't really know why they're telling you off, because let's face it, our horses aren't giving us the wrong answer because they particularly want to wind us up that day. They're not taking the pee, they're not taking the mick. They are just responding to either our changes, so our physical changes, did we drop our head, raise our hand, change our voice, and the environment. What happened in the environment? Did the environment change to last time we did it? So just because a cue works one day doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to work the next day. It's all about the context and everything being the same as it was yesterday. And we know that we can change that. We know we can add in duration, distractions, difficulty as we go. But we have to remember to begin with that when we get the wrong answer, it's the right answer for the horse. And I think that's a fundamental place to begin. And we touched on this last time. It's all about whether the horse is going to get punished for the thing that they did wrong. Correction. To me, that's a correction and it's not a good way to go. Or if you're going to take time out and reset the environment up, reset your cue up, so that hopefully you get the right answer next time. How many times do you make that error? How many times do you get those of you who are watching this, the wrong answer with my rabbit ears round wrong? How many times do you allow that wrong answer before you kick yourself up the butt and say, I think I might not be the best trainer in the world today. Maybe I need to change something about me. So I'm going to talk about the situation that came up with Rum because I think it's a really interesting one and it's a relatively general one that I can talk around to explain what I'm talking about. And I have talked around what we do with errors on the podcast before. This isn't the first time, but this kind of caught me in the week training Rum and I was so surprised that I was a little bit like a rabbit in the headlights, which I know some of you are sometimes when you're training as well and you're like, hey, I didn't know that was going to happen. So I thought it might be useful for me to talk around how I can be just the same as you. Just because I teach this stuff doesn't mean that I'm impervious to making the mistakes myself. So I haven't trained with him for 3 weeks because Becky's been away and I was riding the other two boys, and believe me, in 3 hours tacking up and doing all that and then some of the other things that I needed to get done, I wasn't going to be able to do scent work, not in a comfortable place with Rum where I was relaxed. So best just don't do it. Don't do it if you're not going to have the right time to set it up and do it properly. So I was really excited. The weather's been fantastic here for the last few weeks, so I was really, haven't been doing any odour with Rum, but managed to get some done this week. And he was giving me some fabulous indications off a container. So my container that I always start with is the one that I associate the odour with the food, and the fact that there's value in finding the odour. And that's my lovely big plastic bowl with a tin stuck to the side of it, an odour tin. So it has holes in it and screw cap. I can put the odour item in there. And so, right, I get that one out, I get the odour, always start with the odour. So I put the odour one down. I've got a nice little setup where I take him off to the side, feed him when we're all done from one, and then I bring him back in, I cue him to wait, and then I cue him to go find. It was all going beautifully. I stood there, I cued him to go find after he'd done maybe 3 or 4 of the single container, and I put down a second container. And he went straight to the second container, which in theory had no odour in it. I say in theory, I'll circle back to that later. I put down the second container and that had in theory no odour, and he went to that one first, stuck his head in, gave me the most amazing, it was just brilliant, his indication. He was so steady on it. He even got irritated by a fly and had to stomp his leg to kind of move it off him and went straight back to indication. I was like, that is amazing. Just a shame he's on the wrong container. And do you know, this has never ever happened with him yet. This is the very first time he's ever got it wrong. Now, that isn't because my training's great, that's because he's great. And so in the moment, I was like, oh my goodness, I was so amazed at the indication being so beautiful. He just was hovering over the tin, he wasn't touching it, he was just hovered over it. And to go back to it, I dream of that with my dogs, having it that strong that whatever, they're going to go back and indicate straight on it. So it kind of shook me a little bit. And instead of doing what I would probably have told somebody else to do with hindsight, which would be go up to him, feed him, move the offending container, and let him continue the search, cue him to search again when he gets onto the correct odour, mark quickly so that he's there and he understands he's on the right one now. What I actually did was go up to it, had a good look at it with him, and indicated to him that that wasn't the one that he was looking for by asking him to search again. And he went on and found the correct one. I think I got away with it, but I think it's important to explore in this situation what could have gone wrong. So I'm going to fess up. I am always banging on to people about hygiene with their scent work. And I know people think I'm OTT. I am. But that, I think, is really important. It's important with dogs, but it's very important, I think, with horses, because we tend to be at the yard, at the barn, chuck everything in a corner and then bring it all out again the next time. Well, with odour, you can't do that. You really can't, because if you've been to any of my scent presentations, the odour lingers. It lingers in places that you don't expect it to. So, hands up, I was very bad because I had prepared scent work and put it all in my bag ready to take for Rum for the previous 2 weeks, but we hadn't used it. Silly me. Should have chucked it out, put it through the dishwasher, started again. I didn't. I used those same containers, of which one will have had odour to previously. So although I do unscrew lids and wash everything, there will still possibly be some residual odour. But more than that, with me when I go there, I take my odour in my Kilner jar. It's pretty sealed up, but nothing can stop odour just sneaking out sometimes. And so what I think has happened is that dead container that's not supposed to have any odour, it looks exactly the same. It has a tin, just the same on the side, looks the same. The only thing that's different is the merest hint of a blue marker pen. It's an opaque bowl, and so underneath it just has some writing, some raised writing, and I've just rubbed on some of the letters a blue marker pen, so it's very faint, but I can tell, so I don't have to be going around sniffing to see, so I know which my hot container is. So I think that he got on that first blank that shouldn't have had any odour on it, and I think it probably did have some odour lurking on it, because his indication was so strong and he's been so ace about it. I think that basically I messed up. My bad. But I wanted to share that with you, because any of you who are doing odour work with your horses and are doing it in a very general chuck it all in the corner and it doesn't really matter if things sit together, it does. Honestly, it does, just because you can't smell it. And I think this is where we get confused. And some humans can. When I do my courses, I see some people who are amazing. I call them my super sniffers, because they are just amazing. They can detect everything. They can detect the ones that have just been contaminated compared to the correct odour. So what we're talking about here with Rum is that one of my blank containers was contaminated. So what should I have done given that? Well, I still hold that I should have done what I said earlier, which is to give him some food, not mark it, and take that offending container away, not use it again, and let him just go up and ID the correct container and indicate on that. That's what I should have done, but I didn't. I think I got away with it. I don't think it would have been too awful. I then just did some single ones on what I knew was definitely the hot container, and then I got some clean containers out and put new odour into those so that we could work on those. But it's a great lesson. So where does this fit in if you're not doing odour or scent work? Well, it fits in because fundamentally a horse is guessing. A lot of the time they're guessing what it is you're after. And what we do in scent work is give them so many options where the only right guess is the odour, that eventually they realise that what they're looking for is the odour. When we're asking a horse to maybe walk on and we do it in a certain way, maybe we're drawing them forwards by us walking forwards, maybe we've got our target to draw them forwards or a mat or whatever, and we do that hoping that at some point the horse guesses what the behaviour is, and they guess regularly enough that we can then start to put a clean, really super clean cue onto that behaviour. Well, it's the same as what happened with Rum. The information that I gave him wasn't dirty container, contaminated, it's got a little bit of the odour still in it. He gave me the right answer. Now, we could argue that we want him to indicate on a certain level of odour when it's really strong, but not just tiny amounts of it. Well, that's not my background. That's not where I feel comfortable. So for me, I just want him to indicate on that odour, however light it is, however strong it is. And that's one thing to remember if you are doing odour work, is don't make it so smelly that you can, so 2 drops of essential oil straight into the container. Do not, no way do you want it to be that strong. So learn to soak things the right way so that you get enough odour that the horse can detect it, but not that it, fires them on all cylinders and overcomes them with odour. So, it's an interesting one, because often the horse guesses what the behaviour is and what the cue is. And sometimes we're not realising that our body is changing when we're giving the cue. So if I go back to the walk example, so if we're asking a horse to walk on, but at the same time, we're kind of just leaning our shoulders forwards, ready to go. Is the horse going off the verbal walk on, or are they going off the me leaning my body slightly forwards? It's a mucky old world, and unfortunately we change all the time. We can't help ourselves. And of course, context is massive for horses as well. So how can we avoid all those things? Well, we mentioned some of them in the last podcast, of course. Number 1, simplify. That's what I did with Rum. I took it back down to one well odorized container that I knew contained odour, and that he could get his indication back on, and that we were then on a level playing field again. And end quickly then. Don't keep, I could go back to 2. I could bring that dirty one in. I could bring that contaminated one back in. No. Just end on a really good note. Ask yourself the question, what am I doing? What in the environment has gone wrong? Well, for me, it was dirty containers. For you, it might be that something has changed. Are you changing the foot that's forward when you're standing? Are you turned in a little bit to the horse? Are you looking down? Are you looking up? Are you staring at the horse? What is different? Because there's probably something you're doing that's different. So simplify it. Go back to using your props and your prompts. So props are the physical things. They're the poles, the cones, the jump wings, the jump blocks, whatever you're using to guide that behaviour, your target. Those are all the props. The prompt is you being able to do something that changes the environment yourself, or that's how I see it anyway. So go back to using props and prompts to help the horse get the right answer several times before you think of changing back in any way. And remember, support cues. Call these support cues, I don't know what other people call them, but if you already have a cue and it's a well-known one and you need to use that to hold the behaviour before the environment offers the cue, then use it. That might be a standstill cue. It might be a walk until the next thing happens. Whatever it is, there might be a support cue that you already have that is a good cue. And remember to think about adjustments in your environment, because if you can adjust things to change that, well, what did I do? I took away the offending container. I took away my dirty, contaminated container so that he couldn't get the wrong answer. And of course, take data, check how it goes. Film yourself, we say that all the time. Video yourself so you can have a look at it. So I didn't treat it, I don't think, in a bad way, but this is a biggie for me. I did technically use negative reinforcement because he felt he had the right answer and I went and told him he was wrong. And I did feel bad about that. As soon as I'd done it, I felt bad about it. But now I've lost it because you can't hold on to these things and you shouldn't. But it just reminds you that in the moment, things happen and don't beat yourself up about them. Just move on and do it differently next time. So next time I'm going to... And it just caught me so off guard because I really didn't expect him to make an error because he's just been so on it. It had almost that card in my back pocket with get out of jail, here we go, throw some free food. I'd chucked that one, or I'd put it so far down the filing system that it wasn't to hand. So we're none of us perfect. You just get on, get over it, learn from it. So now I know I've got that one, even for him. If he makes an error or if I create the wrong environment that leads him to make the right answer given that environment, which is technically an error. So an error is just the difference between what you think you're teaching and what the horse is learning. Then just have that get out of jail card. I call it, after some amazing Scandinavian trainers I heard using this term, a flow chart. So if you want to look back to Eva and Emily, they talk a lot, I think, previously. I haven't heard anything from them in a long time, but they're lovely dog trainers, and they talk about flow plans, and they are, for me, so important that we have those. That's how do I start a session? How do I finish a session? What will I do if things go wrong? So you've always got that thing that keeps the flow going. You'll never, like rabbit in the headlights, don't know what to do. I hope you enjoyed me sharing that very personal failure, and I actually rejoice in it now because I've learnt again. Always, I'm learning, always. So if you're stuck in that situation, don't worry about giving free food. There's this idea that you can't give free food. There's also, I think, sometimes in scent work, this idea that you shouldn't use a marker, so you shouldn't be clicking. You should be just letting the process run. He enjoys doing it. You end once the odour's been detected and you've got your response from the horse or dog, and then you can just reinforce afterwards, which might be going to grass or might be getting some food from me or some scratches or ball if it's a dog, whatever. But I think if you have got a marker, then that means you can quickly capture at distance the right answer. It's all about shaping, because if I went out the first week and expected him to indicate in the way that he did on this one, I would have, one, been shocked because an indication is built over a long time. But I would also have been absolutely dumbfounded that he'd done it on the non-odour, the tin that was supposed to be clean. So lots of things came out of that, all of which I've enjoyed learning from. And I'll tell you more about odour as we go through the year. I'm planning, hopefully, with my wonderful colleague Sam Cooper, I'm hoping that we are going to get together and write this up in some way. Sam's the science guru. She's amazing at all the studies and drawing all the information out of it. So I'm hoping that Sam's going to join me on that, and we'll be able to bring more and more odour with horses work to you in different ways than it is maybe being taught for a lot of people right now. Hope you'll join me again. Don't forget to, I think you have to like this one, like an episode, like the podcast, give us a review, and you can always ask questions. It gets easier and easier, certainly with Spotify, to ask questions. So do ask questions, and next time, fingers crossed, Katrina has heard this and is going to come on the podcast and answer some with me. Look forward to seeing you soon. Enjoy your training. Think about your horses. Train kindly and with compassion. And I'll see you soon.